The objective of this fragment is to basically understand the basic key concept of sine rule, sine, cosine, and the basic bearings concepts. And obviously, the last part is the angle of elevation, and dip. So I'm going to take some examples on almost each type of questions. I mean, each type of key concepts. So first, just as we know that the basic key concept that is linked up with uh, the the right angle triangle is, if I have a right angle triangle, then SOHCAHTOA rule you might be knowing. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. So opposite over H is your sine rule, sine ratio, cos. So SCA is basically CAH is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then the last one is your tangent. So the tan is TOA, which is opposite over adjacent. Now, in most of the cases, what happen is that you are not given a right angle triangle every time. So what you got to do is you got to apply a rule that is called sine rule. And sine rule is basically valid for the non-right angle triangles. Let's say if you have ABC as the triangle and the side length opposite to angle A is A, the side length opposite to angle B is B, the side length opposite to angle C is C. Then the sine rule goes as sine A over A equals to sine B over B equals to sine C over C. And now this has got some certain applications. Now, for example, if I know certain angles, let's say this is A, B, and C, and this length is let's say 81, and this length is, let's say, 56, and this angle, for example, is X, and this is, let's say, 75, or let's say 107 degrees. Now I wanted to find out what's the measurement of this angle. So generally what happens is that when two sides and an angle is given, and assume that angle is not included between those two sides. So when I say two sides and included angle, it means that these are the sides and included angle is this. So here when the angle is not included and generally you have been given two sides and one missing angle, you can use sine rule to find out the sine value. Obviously you got to see that you're able to apply this rule. So now in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply, let's say, sine rule here. So sine 107 over 81 equals to sine x over 56. Now when I solve for this, like sine x is sine 107 uh, over 81 times 56. So this answer that you get is the value of sine x. So sine x is going to be whatever this answer comes. So let's say in that case, x will be sine inverse of this answer. So this can be found on calculator straight away. Now next up is sometimes you're given two sides. Let's say I'm going to give you the length of the side. For example, I give you the angle 56. This angle is, let's say, um, 15 degrees. And I don't give this side length, which is 56. So I give this as x, for example. And in this case, you want to find out the value of x. So when you have been given out of these four things, if you have been given one of the missing, one of the quantities that are not found, you can use the other three to find out the value. So here I have been given sine, let's say sine 107 over 81 equals to sine 15 over x. So you can use the cross multiplication here. So 81 times sine 15 um, over sine 107. So this is how you find out some of the missing values or missing angle using sine rule. So sine rule is typically applied in these two situations where you have been given out of these four informations, you have been given any of the three informations. So the other rule is the cosine rule. So the cosine rule is basically, now it's quite different compared to the sine rule. So the sine rule, when you talk about, is basically uh, linking the opposite angle and the opposite sides. So what we do in cosine rule is we use the two sides. Let's say case number one is when you have been given two sides. Let's say I've been given C and A, and angle B has been given to you, and you wanted to find out, let's say, what's the measurement of side AC. So in this case, basically, I apply cosine rule. So case number one, the two adjacent sides are given and one included angle is given. And in order to find out the missing side, which is the third side, so this is given, and you want to find out this missing side. So in this case, what you're going to do is, let's say this measurement is B, angle B. I write down the cosine rule as b square equals to a square plus c square minus 2ac cos of angle B. So a square plus c square. It's like first step is like a Pythagoras theorem, but there is added component here. So uh, in this case, you can use the cosine rule. So to find out the missing value. So now, for example, if I have got this side length as let's say 20. So I have got, let's say, side C. This this side is, let's say, 20. This side is, let's say, 30. And I wanted to find out what's the measurement of this angle, which is, let's say, 100 and suppose if I have given this measurement as well, let's say 110, and I wanted to find out what's the side length. So in this case, you can apply the cosine rule. So b square will be equals to 20 square plus 30 square minus 2 times 20 times 30 times cos of 110. And then you find this value and square root it. So b is going to be 20 square plus 30 square minus 2 times 20 times 30 times cos 110. Now this is the basic key concept of about the cosine rule. This is the case number one. There is another case which where cosine rule is used is typically where you have been given all three sides. Now let's say you've been given all three sides. So let's say A, B, and C has been given, and you wanted to find out the missing angle. So what's the value of X, or what's the value of this angle? So in this case, if I write down, this is going to be angle C, this is going to be angle A, this is going to be angle B. So first is I'm going to just write down the cosine rule in general. And so let's say if I have got B square equals to, it'll be A square plus C square minus 2AC cos B. Now assume that I want to find an angle B. I don't want to find an angle C. Let's say I wanted to find an angle B. In this case, I'm going to use these two sides and this third side. So if I make the modification, I can write on cos B is actually A square plus C square minus B square over 2AC. So if you make the angle B the subject, you're going to get this result. So you can straight away now, if I can demonstrate with certain value, suppose this is 10, this is 12, and this is 15. I can find out the angle B as straight away. Cos B will be 10 square plus 10 square minus 15 square over 2 times 10 times 10. So A is 10, B, C is 10. So I'm putting these values out here. So this is how you use two situations. Number one is when two sides and included angle is given, and you wanted to find out the opposite side. That's where you use cosine rule. And the case number two is where you have been given all three sides like this, and you wanted to find out the missing angle. I can take one more example here to demonstrate the cosine rule. So let us say there is a circle that has got the sides of the triangle inscribed onto it. And now what I have to do is I have to basically find out the angles with the given dimensions. So this, let's say, side is, let's say, 12, this is, let's say, 14, and this is, let's say, 18, and I wanted to find out, let's say, this angle. So what's the measurement of this angle basically? So when you apply cosine rule here, it is going to be cos x will be uh, straight away equals to the squares, sum of the squares of these two sides, which is 10 square plus 14 square minus 18 square upon 2 times 10 times 14. And then you take x is cos inverse of this answer. So that's how you straight away get the value of the x using cosine rule.